So you found yourself in the story? Well, maybe we'll help you find the place here in a few minutes. In this little story, we see two men. One, the Pharisee. He thinks he's protected. He thinks he's in good hands. He thinks he's on a good path. Yet we find at the end of the story, he's close but no cigar. And the tax collector knows or believes that he's in a good place, that he's in good hands. One of the reasons, why does he feel he's in that place, that he's in a good spot? Well, we'll get there in a minute too. Now the tax collector knows that he is somebody completely different. We have this Pharisee who sees himself in good hands and on a good path. But the tax collector is like, ooh, I gotta have a problem. And the question is, why do they see their situation so completely different? Well, one of the reasons, as you see here, is their frame of reference. How are they evaluating themselves? The text very plainly tells us. The Pharisee is evaluating things horizontally. And the tax collector, it appears, is looking at things vertically. The Pharisee's means of evaluation is, how do I stack up against everyone else? Where in that prayer, have mercy on me, a sinner, the tax collector's frame of reference is how God sees him. In that first video clip this morning, that's what we saw. As Jacqueline Johnson was looking at people around her, she saw herself as pretty good. But until she looked and asked, Lord, how do you see me? How does your word describe my plight? Nothing happened. As I said, the Pharisee is looking at things horizontally. The Pharisee is looking at things from a vertical perspective. See, the Pharisee's plumb line is himself. He is the frame of reference of his goodness. The text very clearly says, they were confident in their own righteousness. He was still his own Lord. Sitting on the throne, said, I'm good. The other's bad. And never bothered to look up or maybe look into how God saw things. The tax collector's plumb line was God's standard. How many of us would look at God's plumb line for where we stand? Or do we use our own determination of how we stand? Well, I'm better than this person, or I'm better than that person. What is our plumb line? You know, I keep having us reading the Bible, but that's our plumb line. That's how we know where we're at. Sizing ourselves up in our own idea of righteousness is a path to peril and destruction. As I said, the tax collector's plumb line is God's standard, not his own standard. Hence the two different responses. And you see the responses like night and day. One is woe is me, and the other is like, I'm pretty good. As I said, one is measuring himself by his own standard, and the other is measuring himself against God's standard. And in looking at this, this is where the insurance thing comes on. It appears that the Pharisee has something of a heavenly insurance policy. He thinks he can go on living how he's been living, behaving how he's been behaving, and he's going to be all right. And his premium, the premium for this kind of heavenly, self-made heavenly insurance policy is his religious activities. He pays a premium to going to temple. He pays a premium of praying prayers. Thinking he's safe, while all the while he's functioning in a manner that is unacceptable before God himself. See, ultimately the issue is the Pharisee sees his present situation is not as bad as that as a tax collector. While the tax collector knows that his situation is helpless. This idea of a heavenly insurance policy gives the impression that you're okay now, but we're going to protect you from the mayhem that may come. The tax collector says, no, the mayhem is now. I'm in the middle of the storm. See, the Pharisees unknowingly bought into a self-righteous religious insurance program, and this is a program that really provided no solution for his current predicament, did it? It says he wasn't justified. I think that's what it says. Yeah, he wasn't justified. That's what the text says. His formulation of this thing that he has did not leave him justified. You see, the difference is, this kind of heavenly insurance policy, insurance will not protect you when you're in the middle of a dilemma. You follow? I feel like, yeah, I cleared this, Bob, so I'm not picking on him. But if I call Kling up and say, hey, Bob, I just have an accident. I'm going to have an accident here right now. I'm in the middle of it. Can you write me a policy to protect me? You're crazy. Or if I said, I've just been robbed, can you give me an insurance policy? He'd say no. I'd say, can you protect me? See, the issue isn't that we need protection. The issue is we need rescuing. You follow what I'm talking about? The tax collector became aware that he needed to be rescued. The Pharisee didn't think he needed to be rescued. And isn't that what Christianity is? If we have not come to the point where we realize our situation is dire, it is hopeless. That's what the clip with Jacqueline Johnson. That we are on a path of destruction. We don't need protection, we need rescuing. And the issue is, have we ever called out and said, Lord, save me? Because if we realize how bad our plight is, and how awful our life, even if it at its best is, like Jacqueline Johnson, we will be left with no other response than saying, Lord, save me. You follow what I'm talking about?